This morning, I was doing some work and some research, and I noticed this case about an attorney in Atlanta, and it's a very, I won't say it's a simple case because he ended up going to prison, but I see this a lot, and business owners think that it can't happen to them. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Melinda Tolbert, and I'm the founder of MJ Tax Relief Group and the podcaster on the IRS War Room. I just started a new podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Melinda Tolbert. I just read a federal tax case that every business owner needs to hear. An attorney, and an attorney is someone who knows the law better than most people, right? He just got sentenced to federal prison over taxes. So if that happened to an attorney, it can happen to anybody. So let me give you a back history of the story. So the person at the center of this case, again, it wasn't a taxpayer. He wasn't a business owner who didn't know any better. And this is how the courts was looking at it. He wasn't somebody claiming that he didn't understand taxes. Now, one thing I don't like is when attorneys try to make everybody, just because you're an attorney or just because you have this certain status, they automatically assume that everybody knows tax law when they don't. I know a lot of attorneys, even tax attorneys, some don't know tax law like they should. Regular attorneys, if you're not a tax attorney and if you're like in corporate, you probably don't understand taxes at all. So that's one thing I don't like to hear when I'm reading court cases. You're an attorney, you knew better. Being an attorney don't make you an expert in tax law. I just wanted to get that out there. But the courts were saying that he wasn't somebody claiming and didn't understand taxes. He was an attorney, a licensed attorney at that. Someone trained in the law. Someone who understood the legal consequences. And yet, according to the federal prosecutors, he still ended up being sentenced to federal prison for tax evasion. Now, let me tell you why this matters. Every week, I talk to business owners who tell me things like, Melinda, I'll just deal with it later. I just wanted to see what was going on. The IRS will never know about this money. I'm not going to report it. I got paid cash. They don't have time to look at me. I'm one of the little people. They're worried about the big fish. It's only a few years. I'll file it when I'm able to get to it. I'll catch up eventually. Listen, and I want you to hear me and listen carefully. The IRS may be slow, but they are patient, okay? And patience, when it comes to the Internal Revenue Service, patience is dangerous when you are not filing or paying your taxes. According to the Department of Justice, the Atlanta attorney, Amaj, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, he was convicted of evading nearly $1.5 million in federal income taxes, and it was over multiple years. It just wasn't for 1 year. So just think about that. This wasn't one mispayment. It was a pattern. And when the IRS, when they're researching and doing their investigations, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for patterns. They're looking for a repeated effort that you made or the taxpayer made to avoid paying taxes. And eventually, the government catches up with you, and they caught up with him. Now, I want everybody that's watching this live to understand something. Tax evasion is not the same as owing taxes, okay? Two totally separate things. There are millions of Americans who owe the IRS taxes, okay? On the IRS does not make you a criminal. Let's start there. On the IRS does not make you a criminal, okay? But being behind on taxes does not make you a criminal. Having payroll tax problems, and that's my specialty, although the IRS look at business owners who owe payroll taxes, they look at you as a thief and a criminal. But owing payroll taxes does not make you a criminal. And I tell my clients that all the time. But when you are intentionally trying to hide income, conceal assets, and move money around, thinking that the IRS don't follow the paper trail, or if you evade the collection process, that's when things become dangerous. And I try to explain this to my clients all the time. That's when you stop having a tax problem and you start having a criminal problem, like this attorney that just was sentenced to prison. So that's the distinction that many people fail to understand. As a tax resolution expert, I've helped countless of taxpayers who owe substantial amounts of money to the Internal Revenue Service and even to the state. Now, some people owe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, some owe millions, but they weren't criminals. That don't make you a criminal. The IRS have programs for taxpayers that owe money, that have tax problems. You can do an installment agreement, a partial pay installment agreement, offering compromise. They got penalty pay abatement. You can get audit representation, negotiation. Like, there are a lot of programs for people that owes the IRS money. And there are legal ways to solve your tax debt. Now, the lesson here is some people think that they're smarter than the system. You are not bigger than the program, I promise you, and you cannot outsmart Uncle Sam and Auntie Samantha. I tell people that all the time. You cannot outsmart them. Now, y'all know when it comes to Uncle Sam and them, I'm a lowercase g, because like you just cannot outsmart them. I'm sorry, you can't. The IRS doesn't care what your title is on your business card. You could be an attorney, a doctor, a detective, a CPA, a celebrity, an athlete. The law applies to everybody. There isn't a special set of laws based on your title. Okay? I've said this for years. The IRS, they don't care who you are. They care what your records says. They care what your bank record says. They care what your tax return says. They care what your business record says, your financial statements. And eventually, all that paperwork, it catches up to you if you are trying to defraud the government. What makes this case so powerful is we're talking about an attorney, someone whose entire profession revolves around understanding circumstances. This is how the courts looked at this attorney. Yet he still ended up being sentenced to federal prison after being convicted of tax evasion. Let's sink that in. Let that sink in. Federal prison. He didn't get a civil penalty. He didn't receive a warning letter. He didn't get an installment agreement. He got federal prison. And here's what I want business owners to take away from this, and I'll let you all go so I can get back to work. If you're behind on your taxes, please get some help. If you haven't filed your taxes, get help now. If you're struggling with payroll taxes, please get some help. And if you received a notice from the IRS or a letter in the mail from the IRS and you are ignoring those letters, please get some help. Do not ignore the problem. I can promise you this, and I don't make a whole lot of promises, but I can promise you, if you continue to ignore the Internal Revenue Service, they are going to take extreme enforcement actions to get the money that you owe them. So if you are a 9-to-5 wage worker, that extreme enforcement action looks like garnishing your wages. If you're a business owner, that looks like popping up and shutting you down, depending on what you got going on, especially if you owe payroll taxes and you are pyramiding. Baby, listen, that is nothing to play with at all. Once the IRS Criminal Investigation gets involved, everything changes. And that's what happened with this attorney. The conversations is no longer how much do you owe, it's what did you do? Those are very different conversations, and you don't want to have either one. Trust me. So if you're watching this today and you're dealing with any type of tax issues, understand that there is a path forward. There is a solution. You got options, and there are certain strategies available for you. Hire a licensed professional to assist you. Don't be trying to hide money and conceal assets from the government, because it's not gonna work. Okay, the IRS will work with taxpayers who are struggling. They are far less forgiving when they believe that somebody is intentionally trying to unintentionally trying to beat the system. Okay. So if you are intentionally trying to beat the system, they are far less forgiving. Okay. That attorney learned his lesson the hard way, and I don't want y'all to learn the lesson the hard way. My goal is to make sure that you do not go down the road that the attorney had to go down. His results was federal prison. I stop business owners' payroll tax problems from becoming prison time. I would love to help you. If you owe the IRS or the state over $100,000, you have to meet my threshold. If you don't meet my threshold, I do have people that I can send you to assist you with your issues. I just wanted to jump on here and share that with you all, because title does not matter. And sometimes even if it's just that first time, the IRS and the government, they try to make an example out of you. And that's what they did for this attorney. They made an example out of him. So take that and use it as you may. Share this with your business owner peers and people in your network that thinks that they can hide money and conceal assets from the Internal Revenue Service. It's going to end up catching up with you in the long run. So just don't do it. Okay. Until next time. Peace.